In this lecture, we are going to be learning about Django apps, and this is an awesome tool for us to use as Django developers. But first, let's go ahead and get the vocab right. There are Django projects, and then there are Django apps inside of that project. So what is a Django project? Well, it's what we have already. If we go ahead and just look at the folder that's on our desktop, this portfolio, right? Like this has all of our files inside of it. Basically, a website made with Django is the combination of the whole project. But then inside of that website, you could have little apps for different pieces of it. For example, our blog is going to be a specific app inside of our project, and the little portfolio jobs that we have, like that's going to be a separate app. In other big websites, maybe if they have like a user system, that's going to be its own app. If they have some sort of calendar scheduling system, that's going to be an app. The idea is that you sort of section your project off into these apps so that you can have these little app projects that you can essentially bring into other projects if you need to. So everything that I create in this project for a blog, let's say I'm making another website and I want to use my blog code again, I can sort of plop that over into another project. So just remember, there's Django projects, which encompass basically a whole website. Then within that project, you can have lots of different apps. So let's go ahead and add our first apps into this project. Now, before we do that, I just realized we should probably rename our portfolio file to be portfolio-project. Okay, because then we can specify that's the top level folder, and then we have the portfolio here. Let's go ahead and get rid of the spaces. Sometimes spaces can be really problematic. In fact, the virtual environment, like if you're ever trying to use the virtual environment and you have a folder name with spaces in it, it'll freak out and not work. So I really recommend not having spaces in any of your folder names. But now that we've done that, I'm probably going to have to reopen Atom here since I renamed that top level folder. And let's see how that looks in Git. Let's do a Git status. And didn't notice the top level folder change. That's going to be probably whatever the name of our repo is if we push it up to GitHub, whatnot. But let's go ahead and open this up on our desktop. Okay, portfolio project. And I'll show you how we can now add some apps. But first, let's decide what apps it is that we even want to add. So as I said before, the blog is a very clear case for an app, right? Like it's got its own section on the website, right? And there's lots of different things that sort of go into a blog, these blog posts. That totally makes sense. The next one, you could argue whether or not it should be there, but I think for on the homepage where we list out all the different jobs that are going to be there, that should be its own separate app. So we're going to add two apps into this project. We're going to add the jobs app and we're going to add the blog app. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our terminal now. So to add these apps, we are going to say Python manage.py and we're going to say start app space, and then we need to give our app a name. So for the blog, we're just simply going to type out blog like this, and all of a sudden, look what is now added to our project, a whole folder called blog. And if we go inside of there, there's this thing called migrations, and we've got admin, apps, models, test, views, all this stuff. Let's go ahead and do this for the job. So we're going to say manage.py start app. Got to spell that correctly. Start app jobs, just like that. And boom, look, we have another directory inside of here. So we've got essentially the same looking stuff. And these are sort of, like I said before, little mini sections of your site. So for example, these are going to have their own view file. We're going to have to go ahead and put some code in there. We're going to add a urls.py for each of these, but this is how you can create projects for your site. So now that we've got these two in here, we should go ahead and commit these into our code. This is kind of a big point, I feel like, for us. So let's go ahead and do a git add -a and then a git commit -m, and we'll say added jobs and blog apps. Okay, now for the question of how often should you be committing, it's really up to you. I feel like every time you do something sort of quote unquote important, maybe every, I don't know, 15 minutes to an hour, just whenever you feel like you sort of finished something or done something big, and you'll get a better feel for that as you go along, you should probably do a commit. It might save you in the future. But now with these apps in place, let's go ahead and talk about the models that are going to be associated here.